water over the wires. Good morning, everyone. I think before I start, you're going to obviously see me sort of turning pages. I don't want any of you thinking she's forgot the clicker, because I have no presentation. In actual fact, I think we just, I was going to say, just keep up the nice shipyard up there, much more interesting than just my name and sort of the title. But anyway, so there is no presentation, it's just me speaking to you today. So it's not a case of I've forgotten the clicker. So for those of you who don't know us, BIFM, and I'm going to refer to it from here on in as BIFM, rather than the British Institute of Facilities Management, to try and shorten the speech. For those who don't know us, BIFM is the professional body for facilities management, and we promote excellence for the benefit of practitioners, the economy and society. And thank you very much for inviting me here today. BIFM is also celebrating its 25th anniversary in 2018. We were founded in 1993 by the amalgamation of sort of two smaller organisations. And we sort of had at the beginning about 1,000 professionals, and today our institute recognises and supports over 17,000 individual members and corporate members in over 80 countries around the world. The FM profession is still a sort of relatively new one, and it grew out of office services and office administrator roles in the 1970s and 80s. They weren't known as facilities managers back then. They were the folk who just made sure everything happened and got done and ran businesses and buildings efficiently. They looked after the types of services characterised as non-core to a business, which in the cost-driven culture of the late 80s and 90s became convenient to commoditise and contract out. So this rapid acceleration of outsourcing as a standard operating model, combined with growth in regulation governing the way our infrastructure must be built and maintained, and how its users must behave, has spurred the growth of FM as a serious industry. Its growth has gone from almost unnoticed, but today it accounts for around 7% of UK GDP and has an estimated value of about 120 billion, so it's not trivial at all. So outsourcing is a scourge to some, but has helped shape FM as we know it today. BIFM's purpose is advancing our profession. Sticking to that requires us to keep moving, motivating, innovating, challenging our perceived norms, and being alive to what's happening around us, being open to opportunity and change, whatever its origin and scale. Pursuing the highest standards in the procurement and management of FM contracts is fundamentally important to our profession's advancement. And to me, it's about choosing the right procurement strategy. For many years, BIFM has a volunteer-led procurement special interest group, which is led by Chris Jeffers and Wendy Sutherland, and they've been leading the development and dissemination of best practice guidance in this subject. Obviously, 6 months ago, and we mentioned it here this morning, we had the collapse of Carillion, which came without warning, but certainly while many, which came not without warning actually. Obviously, it had been much spoken about in the financial papers last year, and they kept on giving profit warning after profit warning. But it left many of their clients and their suppliers unprepared. And obviously, I'm sure most of you would have heard the news today about the government's awarded a contract to Capita, and that's another company which has had many, many warnings, and I sincerely hope and promise that we're not going to have another corporate failure here. But in a commentary that rippled out from that crisis, much was said about outsourcing. In many quarters, the very concept was condemned, especially as a suitable model for public service delivery. This presented something of a quandary for BIFM. After all, surely outsourcing is to FM what pickle is to cheddar. Was outsourcing the villain here, or was this a case of judging a service delivery concept through the prism of corporate failure? At the time, I refused to comment on the Carillion failure, because to me it was not the failure of FM delivery. This was a corporate failure, but I'm not in the position to comment on that, because those comments will be my own personal ones and not the representative comments of a professional body. So outsourcing is integral to the FM industry. And there are many examples of outsourcing firms delivering excellent services driven not by the lowest cost, but by value. And under these types of arrangements, they're bringing added worth to their client businesses in terms of expertise, technology, innovation, risk and information management, and all delivered by high-quality professionals. The truth of what happened at Carillion will emerge at some stage. I doubt it happened because outsourcing is a flawed idea, but rather what went on in that particular organisation. That said, poor governance, low margins, inadequate procurement have led to an over-reliance on megaliths. Plus, perhaps a habit of thinking about FM as a cost centre to be cut rather than a key factor impacting on productivity, all are factors worthy of serious reflection if problems are to be avoided in the future. One thing that everyone can agree on is that the focus forward should be on what can be done to change or improve it. Given that our industry has its roots in outsourcing, BIFM has been keen to use evidence and experience from our members to draw out key learnings and to shape the influence and the debate that continues. One of the most important lessons already being learned from this difficult episode is an overarching need to upskill and professionalise those who procure and then manage contracts. That is particularly important for those in government who manage public sector contracts on a scale so extensive that their work has a profound effect on our industry's development and continuing downward pressure on FM operational costs. You might say that outsourcing has become a victim of its own success because it has been very, very good at providing and rationalising efficient service, which indeed for many years has provided great savings. But when there is little fat left to trim, margins are targeted instead. So while the FM industry as we know it today might be regarded as the offspring of outsourcing, the obsession with cost has done nothing to help it gain stature nor status. In fact, it has led to a systematic underappreciation of the value which excellent FM can contribute. And it strikes me like all ecosystems, we need to find an equilibrium. A balanced environment where value-based public and private services can be specified, procured and delivered by high-quality professionals. We've been reaching out to our members to understand what is happening in their contracts right now and what needs to happen to optimise our industry for the future. We've also been putting serious effort into developing insights and data on the broader value and contribution of FM so that our members are geared up to focus on aspects other than price. We all know that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to finding the right procurement strategy, but it seems to me there are several guiding principles that might steer us in a good direction, and these are my sort of top 6. One is a value-driven approach, incorporating quality and social value, which delivers for all stakeholders. 2, enabling realistic margins. 3, upskilling for professionalised procurement processes with shared objectives, shared data where possible, and a partnership approach. 4, advocating consistent prompt payment. 5, advocating wide-ranging minimum standards underpinned by a code of conduct. And finally, 6, transparency about the service delivery, which enables trust between partners. The role of technology and data-driven innovation should be promoted here. It's encouraging to see the CCS in its new FM framework begin to create the conditions for a value-based approach by attributing greater weighting to the quality elements in bids, including more opportunities for small suppliers and extending the time limit for tender applications. But is it going far enough? And will we see the principles incorporated into contracts with suppliers? We're keen to help nurture that principled approach where we can. With professional development pinned permanently to the top of our agenda, we're committed to improving skills in contract management for FMs and the procure of FM services. So we've started to put some of this into practice. In actual fact, if you sort of go east down the River Thames at the moment, down at Excel is the facilities show. I was there yesterday. And it's the largest event in the FM calendar and a major opportunity to engage with our members where events in the wider economy present a serious opportunity. And what's happening there is we're running half-day sessions, and we invited anybody involved in government and procurement to come along and have a half-day session on how to become a smarter client and we're running those on each of the 3 days of the show, and we've been sort of very pleased actually with the take-up. What was interesting, the guy who was running that yesterday, we had a sort of an article that he wrote following yesterday's piece, and there's the one word that he said, and it caught my sort of attention this morning as we've been sort of talking about the contracts. He said we've got to introduce empathy from both sides of that contract. I mean, contracts must be in place, of course they must, but they must protect all stakeholders. You can't have them. It was interesting what Katie said this morning about contracts being devised by lawyers for lawyers so they can sort of, sue each other or sue the companies, and somebody's going to earn a lot of money out of them. That is not for the benefit of society as we know it. So they said have empathy and always try and put yourself into the other person's shoes, and to get a contract which works for both parties, which protects all parties. I thought it was a good message that was coming out today. I'm sure it will continue today. Yesterday will continue today and tomorrow. Anyway, in September, our procurement SIG will be holding its first conference dedicated entirely to contract management and best practice, where we'll be looking at both the customer and the supplier perspectives. With so much happening in the broader environment, it will be a further opportunity to raise the bar on contract management, and I'm particularly pleased that NEC will be playing a part in that conference, and I will say a bit more about how we're working together shortly. This is in addition to getting the message out to government and wider stakeholders and upping our own guidance on procurement and social value, amongst others. We are committed to working with and through others towards an improved contracting environment. It's in this vein that I was delighted to be deepening the Institute's relationship with NEC at this critical time for FM and for value-based procurement. And in March this year, our organisations announced a joint initiative to develop contracting and procurement products and services to support FM industry using the NEC4 contract suite. The initiative came in light of feedback from BIFM members that the existing standard forms of contract developed primarily for use in construction or mechanical and electrical projects did not meet all their needs. And this was quite a moment for BIFM because only the week before the Institute had made a very significant announcement, but more on that later. But one element was a commitment to collaborate more with other bodies, something our members want BIFM to do. So in this sense, the Memorandum of Understanding, which we signed in March, became our first partnership. Our two organisations agreed to work together to design contract products which reflect and support the diverse FM industry, the aim being to sort of bake in good practice principles for procurement and management of FM services to the latest iteration of the widely used contract form NEC4. The first piece of joint work under this Memorandum of Understanding has been to identify the contract-related needs and challenges of those working in FM through a discrete piece of research. The insight resulting from the research is being used to inform the development of a bespoke service contract adaptation of NEC4 to provide an industry-wide framework for best-in-class FM activity. This will be the NEC4 FM suite. This work builds on the earlier collaboration between NEC and BIFM's volunteer-led procurement group, and I'm delighted that NEC will be helping to promote this work at the procurement conference to optimise the impact of the standards contracting service and improve awareness more widely of NEC contracts' suitability for procuring FM. This is all about pursuing the highest standards in the procurement and management of FM services, and it's fundamental to our profession's advancement. And I'm sort of delighted to be furthering our relationship with NEC. I referred more than once to the present today being a critical one for the FM industry, and it is. But it's also a fascinating time to be in FM. Today I focused on one challenge, the fallout from a sudden upset to established models of service delivery. But as we all know, there are other challenges and disruptors out there. I think a lot of these are affecting most industries, not just FM. We've got the changing shape of our economy as we negotiate to leave the EU. I was fascinated to hear the number of hours that are being spent in the House of Lords. Gosh, still, some would say, caustically, or at least they're sort of earning their crust. when you look back over the last 800 years. They're certainly being kept busy. The need to upskill and professionalise across the board, the need to attract new entrants and pivot away from the low status that held us back, and impacts on our already serious skills gap. I talk about skills gap in FM, and I speak to many people across many industries, and everybody still talks about a skills gap. No matter how much money we sort of spend on apprenticeships and educational programmes, we still talk in this country about a skills gap. And I think it's time sort of somebody actually really got to grip on this. The need to get boardrooms to seriously understand FM's role in unlocking the productivity potential in the workplace, and to establish FM in the boardrooms to make the case for human-centred development. FM might have originated as organising the physical work environment for people, but it's important to stress that people really are central to this. The appropriate response to as big data and smart technology pushes us towards further adaptation and innovation, and the untapped opportunity in the knowledge economy as business begins to speak the language of workplace. I firmly believe that there is a challenge and a disruption. There is also opportunity. To me, that means that we must make the case for the 21st century for FM. The drive for change is unremitting and unstoppable, so there is a manifest need for FMs to rise to that challenge. As we mark 25 years, the BIFM board has developed proposals which are designed to take a major step forward in 2018. We want to make BIFM more valuable to the FM profession, the industry and the wider business community. Our proposals set out to reposition both the Institute and FM, emphasising FM's ability to make a real contribution to the performance of organisations. We want to tap into what the 2016 Stoddart review called the workplace advantage, which identified that an effective workplace can improve productivity of between 1 and 3.5%, potentially delivering a 20 billion uplift to the economy. The proposals task us to help our members to improve their skills to meet the needs of modern organisations and to raise the profile of FM and the general understanding of the value it creates. And they signal a commitment to work towards a profession achieving chartered body status, confirming and recognising FM as a profession in its own right. We believe that for organisations to function effectively, especially in the knowledge economy, we must facilitate all those in the workplace to think, to exchange ideas, to be creative and to harness innovation. At the same time, the concept of workplace has been rising up the business agenda as organisations, taking inspiration from the world's leading companies, have begun to see the value of rethinking their working environments to improve organisational performance. BIFM sees workplace as a serious opportunity for FM, and we want to harness it to reposition FM. Workplace is an important differentiator that we believe can attract the best talent, but we know too that despite all that we've discussed today, there remains an overriding pressure to reduce cost, and not just in the public sector. So we want FMs to be able to articulate what that really means, and for this we need the best management skills to make the best business case, not just financial, for excellent FM. We want FMs to skill up to the highest level to meet that demand. So we put the case to our members that we should become the Institute for Workplace and Facilities Management, and that vote goes to our members in 2 weeks' time. So we'll wait and see. So on the 6th of July, we will either keep ourselves as BIFM, or our members may have voted to recognise the sort of changing environment in which FMs are now operating, and that we will adopt workplace within our title as well. So I thank you all very much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.